internet gadget aficionados. My name is Chris Masto. Welcome to today's episode, which is coming to you not from the basement lab, but from the garage workshop. I'm out here in this messy, cold, and noisy. Unfortunately, you may hear some cars driving by and noise from the neighbors and all the other stuff I've been hearing this morning as I've been setting this up. But I'm here in the workshop because behind me in this box I have the Shaper Origin from Shaper Tools. This is that cool handheld CNC router that corrects your movements as you go along the line and allows you to make all kinds of cool stuff. So today I'm going to unbox this. I'm going to do my initial impressions, and then later on, after I've had some time to try it out for a while, I'll do a proper review. But today we're just going to get this out of the box and run it through its paces, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with it. So, on with the show. Okay, so let's crack the seal on this thing. It's a rather large box, and see what's inside. So mine is a batch 2 machine, which means I was not one of the original pre-orderers. I already have an X-Carve CNC machine, and I have a Glowforge laser cutter, so I wasn't sure that this thing would be all that useful. I'm going to have to take this box down in order to get the inside box out of it. But you know, I'm susceptible to marketing. I was trying to ignore it, and then someone I worked with mentioned that theirs had arrived from the first batch, and that got me looking at it again. And before I know it, I'd reserved one. And here it is. So inside the box, we have the box. Of course, it comes in a very, very nice case. So let's see if I can get this out of there by just sliding the box off the bottom. A little bit of debris on the top there. So they have some kind of a collaboration with Festool. So this, I suppose, I don't have any Festool products, but at least not yet. I just ordered their vacuum to go with this. But this is a Festool case, as I understand it. You can see it says on here, Sustainer T-Lock. Sustainer is their sort of Festool thing. I don't know. I'm not a woodworker, so I'm not super familiar with the whole situation. But in any event, it's a really nice case. It's not, you know, it's not unbearably heavy, like you need 2 people. So it seems fairly obvious that the process to open this thing is to turn this. It's got little arrow thingies on there. Lift the lid, and here we are. Very nice. They have really gone all out to make this a beautiful machine and beautiful packaging and so on. I know it's a tool, it doesn't have to be beautiful, but anyway, in here in the box we have the vacuum hose that it comes with. I guess this is either in addition, an extension to your vacuum, or if your vacuum doesn't quite fit, this might somehow allow it to do so. I'm not entirely sure. I have a small shop vac here, which I'm going to try. Also in here is the plastic safety shield thingy. I guess I take this foam out. I'm not entirely sure like what comes out and what doesn't. I want to make sure that I can pack this back up for travel, so I guess you have to take this foam out. That's kind of awkward. I don't like pieces that you have to sort of hang on to, you know. So now I think if everything's clear, let me just back this up. I should be able to just lift out the unit. Yep. I have to put the foam back in the box for later. Before I do that, there's more stuff in here I need to get. Sort of hidden compartment in the bottom with this package of stuff. And the manual. And the little cheat sheet sticker. There, finally, that's the contents of the box. Look at think I made the video, I'd never be able to figure out how to put it back together. Okay, close that up. I think I can remove the case. I'll just set the manual aside for now. Let's see what's in the little pouch here. Of course, I know what's in the little pouch, as I've already read there getting started. So they give you a couple rolls of the special domino tape that it uses for the computer vision system. And let's see, just dump it out here. You get the wrench for putting the bits in. You get the hex driver for removing the spindle. 3 bits or whatever you call them. Delicious seasoning packet and USB drive. Plastic. That was the peeling scene. And now, I guess next thing is to remove this protective transportation lock. Save that for later. So here it is, the shaper origin. You got your handles, buttons, the spindle on here, the screen right here on the back where the magic happens. So there's where the camera is that's watching all the action. Somebody mentioned this tray in the back. Don't know what that's for. I guess access to clean out something, maybe. Anyway, let's now undo the power cord. Very exciting. Note to self, edit this out. It would be nice if the power cord for storage purposes didn't require hanging on to this. Just everything here that I'm doing, I'm thinking about when I put this back in the box, is it going to be a pain? I mean, this thing came separately in a bag. Am I allowed to put it back in the box with this shield on? I hope so. All right, so let's first see how that fits on there. So this goes on with magnets. So it's got a couple of magnets on there. Where do the magnets align to? Oh, okay. So, straightforward enough. I guess this just sort of sits on there and the magnets grab hold somewhere in the back. Opening there for airflow, etc. Reasonable design. So now let's take the spindle off. Take a quick look at that. So on the right side, just loosen this, and then spindle pulls right out. I forgot to unplug it. I guess this, again, I guess a Festool designed spindle. Power switch on there, speed dial. This actually annoys me a little bit. I wish it were computer controlled speed. Why should I have to turn this dial? Find that slightly weird. First I want to get a good look at the bottom. So I was kind of curious about this. The whole design of this thing is that it slides around, so I was kind of curious what it slides around on. There's a bit of a softer plastic there, but you can see just, I don't know if you can see that actually, it depends on whether the camera wants to focus, but in just the couple of minutes that I've had this, without even doing any cutting with it, just pushing it around on my relatively clean and flat tabletop here, I've already scratched the bejesus out of it. So, I mean, it is a tool, it's gonna get scratched, it just I guess the question is one of feel, right? Every time I slide it across the table like this, it makes kind of an unpleasant grinding, scratchy noise, and it just, it doesn't feel great. But anyway, slot in here goes toward the back. You just drop in, tighten this back up. Easy peasy, finger tight. And then this would plug in there if I were going to do any actual cutting. But first I'm going to boot it up and do the setup, see how that goes. The place where the cord comes out and where the vacuum comes out here in the front, I'm not sure if I love this, especially in my work area. That means that the cord has to go awkwardly because it plugs in on the right. So just a little bit awkward, that's all. So now plug it in and see what happens. Lights on the back came on. Okay, seems to have centered or zeroed itself in some way. Let's touch continue. It says 2.2.3.0 in the corner. And I'll do my Wi-Fi setup. Okay, now I'm logged in. It's telling me to remove the spindle clamp, which I did. It's telling me about the website. Great. Skip is an odd way to label that, but fine, whatever. I'm being very nitpicky. Okay, and now it is on. And it's scanning my work surface. So I guess I could pretend that I'm going to cut something. I would, of course, like to do the Aircut first, just to try the thing out. So let me do that then. I guess I don't want the cord to be in front of the machine when I'm using it. I'm gonna have to get sort of used to that. It'll be over there. So now what I'll do is set up my workspace. I think before I put the tape down, I will move the origin out of the way so it doesn't get confused as I'm applying the tape. Okay, cool. So I think the idea is that you put a bunch of this tape across. A good ways away from where you're going to be working, and then every 4 inches or so thereafter. Doesn't have to be straight. Well, let's see what happens with that. I don't see that I necessarily have to go all the way down to the bottom, because if I were cutting in this area, then the machine would not be able to see the bottom. Okay, so now, as I understand it, when I bring this over here, it should, there we go. So it's starting, it sees that there's tape in this area, and it's not complaining that there's no tape, but I do have to press the scan button to start scanning. So that alleviates my previous concern that while I'm moving tape around, it might be confused. It wasn't actually in the scanning process. So I'm going to select scan on here. Oh, new scan. Okay. And then I have the option to cancel or start scan. So I'm going to start scan, and now what I'm getting on the screen is a very interesting visualization of my work surface. Let me zoom in here. There's kind of a trapezoid of vision, and as you move this thing around, it's actually layering. You see behind it all of the like these different trapezoids layered on top of each other, basically stitching the space together, which is pretty cool. So, all right. So now I've scanned all of the dominoes. It doesn't like the ones on the edge because it doesn't like that one because it's torn. So it's very specific. It's not even a question of whether it can see all the dots. Like this one has the corner missing. So again, not that it really matters, but I'm just curious about these details. So now I can press finish, I believe. Actually, I just want to see what the boundaries of this area are, even when yeah, so I actually can scan quite a bit of a larger area as long as there are enough of those dominoes in view. Then I was even able to get the whole bottom of the table. Okay, so I'm going to finish the scan. Now it says updating workspace. This is a bit slow, but it is doing a lot of fancy high-tech stuff, so I guess I can't blame it. Hopefully something in the future though that they can speed up. Okay, so now I've got this view where I'm seeing on the screen as I move it around, it's almost like a microscope or something. It's showing me what's right under the router bit. What's cool about this though is it's not like it has a camera under there. It's showing me the data from before. So these are all the views that it took when it, I'll try to get a better shot of this. So you can see as I move this around, I'm getting a visualization of the surface of the table, but it's not showing me a live view of what's under there now. It's showing me what it captured earlier, but zoomed way in and aligned with where it knows it is because it can see those dominoes on the tape. So you'd be able to see any marks that are on your wood, etc. But not, if I made a new mark now and then I went back and moved it over there, I wouldn't actually see that. I'd be seeing what was previously on there when it captured the picture. Anyway, let's move on and do something with this thing now. So I believe there should be some files preloaded on this USB drive. So if I just stick that there in the side, I should be able to select import USB. And now I've got a couple of different things on here, but I'm going to select the US map because that's a thing. And so now this is giving me the option to move this around and position the map exactly where I want it. So I could, for example, just put it here. Place. Okay. Now as I move this thing around, it's a little bit hard to capture on the camera here, but there is an image of the map there, and as I go over these lines, I can select which line I'm cutting. In the interest of my own sanity, I'm not going to try to keep tracking this screen with my video camera while I do this. So there are plenty of videos online that show what this looks like. I just want to give you my experience as I'm going through it. So I have the machine near one of these lines here, and I'm going to choose cut. This paper is peeling up slightly from the side, which is disturbing. I'm going to select cut. And now I have a different display which allows me to see the correction circle, as I believe they call it, that it's able to make adjustments in. May be able to get some of that on camera here. So there's that circle in the middle. And that's as long as I keep the line within that circle, it's able to move the cutter to stay on the line. So I'm going to go back up here because what I want to do is I want to choose my menu options, Aircut, just to make sure there's no depth here. I'm going to cut on the line, no offset, pretend that I have an 1/8 inch bit, and I'm not going to touch off. And so I should be able to just select Start Cutting. Cool, so now the spindle goes down. It's making an interesting noise, like it's making constant small adjustments. Haven't heard that on the demo videos, of course. So now I follow this line in this direction. I set the camera up this way particularly, so hopefully we can see the spindle as it moves. Yeah. So I'm moving this, more or less staying on the line, but not exactly. And so you can see as I do that, that spindle is making adjustments. And now if I want to go around the corner, I can press auto, and it'll just sort of do everything it can. Here, let me do this again. I'll go over here near the corner, and now I'm going to press auto, and it's near a corner that goes, sorry, where's the camera? Corner that goes to the right and then up. So if I press auto, you should see the machine do that. Yeah, so it followed that path as far as it could, and now it's sort of giving me advice on how to move this thing. Whoop. Now I went off the line or something, so it pulled the spindle back up automatically. Not sure what I did wrong, but I wasn't looking at the screen, so that's part of it. And here, now this is a whole U-turn I should be able to do automatically, so I'm going to press the button and let it do that. Yeah, that was cool. So it went up, down, over. Cool. So that's how that works. Then you press retract, and then in theory it will have cut that section out, and then I could go on to another one. Just for fun, I'm going to do another one. Pretend I'm doing this for real. Because you do the fancy sections slower than the straight sections, and that should be that. And then retract. Neat. And then I guess I'll let me just for the sake of trying to get something on video, I will reorient my camera. I think I can do all of California here while keeping it in the shot. So again, I have this whole correction circle. As long as the thing I want to cut is within that circle, I can start cutting. And so it'll plunge down and it'll start cutting. Again, as I follow this line, it is automatically tracking. And here's a part where there's a corner, and I can press the auto button and it'll just continue on its own as far as it can within that circle. So that went around there. Again, I could do this corner here with the auto button. You can hold that down as well and it'll just keep autoing. Or you can go like this and it'll try to track the center. And you can see there's some really fiddly bits around the coastline here in California, but the machine is taking care of all the detail itself, so that I just have to make the sort of broad movements. And now here, if I do go completely outside the cutting circle, it'll retract so that I don't accidentally damage anything, and then I can go back and I continue my cut. Just go all the way around the edge, press that auto button here to finish it off, and now I'm done, so I hit retract and ready to go. Very straightforward operation. It's quite intuitive. It's quite obvious how to use it. The question, I guess, that'll come up next is not only so much what can you do with it, because I've seen plenty of examples of projects that people have done, but the real question for me is how much of a pain is this thing going to be to set up? I don't use my CNC machine very often because it takes forever from saying, okay, I just want to cut this shape out of a piece of wood, to having to, cut. First of all, you have to rough cut the wood to fit inside the machine, which is a nice thing about this. You don't have to deal with that with this machine. But you do have to have some place to put it. You have to be able to clamp it down. You have to have a spoil board underneath because it's going to cut through. You have to, they recommend putting double-sided tape underneath so that, like in this example, as you're cutting out these shapes, they don't go flying. And then of course you have to put this domino tape down on top and clamp everything. So making fixtures can be a really tedious aspect of doing CNC machining. And I'm hoping that this machine requires less fixturing than the stuff that I've done in the past, but you know, still, it's not, you know, there's no magic involved, so you can only do so much. But so far, it is just beautifully built to start with. That is for sure. It is a work of art in a lot of ways, and the vision technology and stuff that's going on in here is super interesting and super high tech, and hopefully I'll be able to find some uses for this in the next couple of days and make some things, and I will share them with my friends on the internet. So that was my video about unboxing and trying out the Shaper Origin. I'll see if I can get to the point where I'm actually cutting something and make one about that as well. But first I have to I have to dig some wood and something out of the garage, and also I need to go spend some time inside because I am freezing out here. It is 57 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not horrible, but a couple hours of that is about enough. So until next time, that's all I got.